The definition of a win is a win. The Mavs beat the Spurs. Let's talk about some overtime minutes and what could have been Maxi's worst moment in his entire lifetime. Coming up next on Locked On Mavs. Welcome to Locked On Mavs. This is one of your co-hosts, Isaac Harris, contributor to Mavs.com, Studio 41, The Corner 3 on 97.1, The Freak on Saturdays with Bobby and Kat. Riding solo today, no Nick, as Nick is traveling with family and, enjoying going to look at some rocks. That's what I've been calling it, the Grand Canyon. So he missed this incredible game. I mean, just what a marvelous game as the Mavs beat the Spurs. But if you're listening on YouTube, you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment below. I feel like Nick is falling into the routine of like, hey, what's one reason why the Mavericks won this game? Let's do a, man, I don't even know what to even say at the end of this one, because this one was super tough. Would this have been the lowest moment for the Mavs if they lost this game? No, let's do this. Leave a comment below on YouTube. Will the Mavericks finish in the top 6 of the playoffs at the end of the regular season? Will they finish in the top 6? Leave it in the comments below. Today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate Basketball GM. If you've ever dreamed of becoming an NBA GM and managing your basketball franchise, then this game is definitely for you. Download the game. Just visit ultimatebasketballgm.com. Look it up on the app stores. Our listeners get 100% free boost to their franchise when they use the promo Locked On, all caps, in the game. That's Ultimate Basketball GM. What a game. I'm not saying what a game as far as, hey, that was awesome to intake. But, I feel like a lot of people are, downloading the brackets right now for NCAA. March is mad. Here we go. March Madness is here. If you follow college basketball, you're ready. If you listen to this on Thursday, the games are getting rolling, at least the games that matter. We don't really count Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever it is. And, it's inevitable, right? Like you watch I was just talking to somebody today about the drop off between the NBA and the college basketball. And, but it's inevitable that we're going to be watching some game. If you watch the games, on Thursday or Friday, and you're going to see two, random college teams out there that it's just going to be so ugly of basketball. And you're like, I don't know if any of you guys will be at the next level in the NBA. And it's just going to look chaotic. And you're like, all right, this is college basketball. That's how I felt watching almost this entire game. I felt like I was watching 2 8 and 9 seeds battle it out in just a kind of just a bad game, none of the stars are playing in this game. There are a handful of Spurs guys out in this game. We know what the Spurs goal is right now in the season. Hey, they're just trying to lose games, all right? They're trying to race to the bottom. I think Houston, I should have checked this before I started recording. I think Houston was beating the Lakers the last time I checked. But, Spurs are trying to race to the bottom of the league. They want a shot at Wemby. If, not Wemby, they could take any of those guys, one of the Thompson brothers or Scoot or whoever. But, you walk into this game and, they announce, Kyrie says he's out. Kyrie addressed the media, kind of talked about his foot injury, a little bit, and just saying, hey, it's taking a little bit longer than what he thought, but, he obviously didn't play in the Spurs game. He was ruled out. Luka's still out. Tim Hardaway Jr. out of, this game. And then they said Christian Wood's going to play. He set out the last game. It's like, all right, well, at least we have Christian Wood. This is like prime Christian Wood. Go off. Make the agent happy. Let's show this tape, for the offseason and get this dub, because they're going to need his scoring, especially in this game. And you go into the Spurs game, it's like, all right, if there's one game the rest of the season that I would feel the most confident in taking an ink pen or a Sharpie. Actually, you can't do a Sharpie with this Mavs team. Like one of those erasable pins, sneaky. But I would write on there, like, this is a guaranteed win. And man, they made me sweat that out. Like, what was going on? What were we watching in this game? There's so many different things in this game that I'm like, I can't believe this. There's no way I'm going to do a podcast after this game. There's no way they're going to lose to the Spurs team. And man, they just barely squeaked it out. I'll talk about the fourth quarter a little bit. Maxi / Christian Wood, whose mistake that was. I think it was more Maxi's than Christian Wood's on that pass, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. But, so they start this game and Christian Wood still doesn't start. So however you want to feel about that, I think it's pretty clear. Anyway, but Christian Wood doesn't start. They start Dwight Powell. They start Maxi. And that was their front court. They start the two bigs. And, it wasn't that great of a start to the game. Even when Christian Wood got into the game, he got 2 quick offensive fouls using the leg. He loves kicking the leg out to create space. I do think it's a little unfair sometimes because, some players, use that exact same move, but they don't get called for it. Christian Wood gets called for it. Feels like a decent amount of time. Scott Foster, man. Scott Foster loves calling offensive fouls. My guy is... when there's nothing like a prime, peak Scott Foster charge call. It's the, I'm going to hold it. I'm going to pause for a second and then just a fast motion into the charge. He's got the motion that, he stands in the mirror and watches himself like kind of just flex and do that charge call. He lives for that moment. He probably has his own like video coordinator that makes montages and stuff for him, checks his form on the charge calls. But no, that first quarter, it was, Spurs had 16 points in the paint in the first quarter. And I tweeted out, I'm like, hey, they're on pace for 64 points in the paint. This is going to suck. If you're going to do this against the Spurs, because it's the freaking Spurs. All right. Like, this is their starting lineup tonight. Keldon Johnson, who's pretty dang good. He finished 27 in the game. But then Romeo Langford, Mamu, Devontae Graham, and Trey Jones. And, like, they legitimately just got Mamu the other day, all right? So, and this dude had green light for days. He took the second most shots on the team behind Keldon Johnson, by the way. He took 7 threes in this game. Big time irrational confidence guy. But, for Dallas, they finished the game. I could talk all day about their defense, man. Like, I know it went to overtime, but you gave up 128 points to the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs had 60 points in the paint on Dallas. The Spurs, with that lineup that I talked about there. So 128 points for the Spurs. They gave up 16 points in the paint in the first quarter there. Spurs were leading after 1. I'm like, all right, just watching. I feel like a lot of you guys are probably watching thinking the same thing. Okay, Spurs could be a little frisky, maybe first half, maybe into the third quarter. But you know what? When the fourth quarter happens, it's time for Wemby. Somebody show Pop some Wemby tape. And that just never happened. And that worried me a little bit. Some big game stats real quick before I take a quick break. Just looking across the board. Bench points were pretty much pretty equal in this game. Shout out to Dallas winning the rebounding battle tonight. Some would say that's why they won the game, is because they won the rebounding battle by 5. Dallas did have 23 assists in this game. So yes, that's much better than when they had like 13 or 15 a while back. But all right, let's take a quick break, and then I'll be back. Got to talk about this end of the game. I think the last segment, I'll just give a little standings update and kind of look at where we're at going into the Lakers game. But first, this podcast is brought to you by Ultimate Pro Basketball GM. Are you into phone games? If you are, and you love basketball, I think this will be the game for you. Nick is literally obsessed with this game. I'm trying to watch my screen time, but you know what? If I want to be tempted by my screen time on my phone, it's going to be by Ultimate Pro Basketball GM. If you've ever dreamed of becoming an NBA GM and managing your basketball franchise, well, the dream can come true on your phone. this game is definitely for you. Manage every strategic aspect of your team. Play through the season and lead your team to glory. You're responsible for hiring the right coaches. Some of you are ready. Y'all are already on that. Training players. Y'all are on that already too. Trading players. Making draft picks. This is NBA Twitter or Mavs Twitter needs their own like profile on there. This is all here. But anyway, if you want to be a GM, it's challenging. It's realistic. Ultimate Pro Basketball GM is completely free, playable offline, play on the go as you want, when you want. Locked On Mavs listeners get 100% free boost to the franchise when you use promo Locked On in the game store. So make sure you check it out. To download the game, just visit probasketballgm.com, scan the code, look it up on the app stores. That's probasketballgm.com. Ultimate Basketball GM. Start your dynasty today. Start your dynasty today. Let's go. All right, let's talk a little bit more about this game. What about the backcourt of Josh Green and Jaden Hardy? I mean, first off, Josh Green played 45 minutes in this game. I thought he continues to play well. You know, a lot of it has to do with his outside shooting, but he was 2 of 5 from this game, hit a couple threes. He did have 7 assists in this game, as he's playing kind of the de facto point guard in these lineups. But what about Jaden Hardy, though? Jaden Hardy continues to impress me. He played 38 minutes in this game. He only hit 5 shots, all right? 3 of them were threes. That last one in the game, nasty. And what about the dunk on Gorgie? I mean, I thought Gorgie was about to retire after that one, but Hardy threw it down. He had 22 points in this game. Hardy was a plus 23. If you're a big plus-minus person, here you go. He was a plus 23 in this game in 38 minutes played. To give some context, like Dwight played 29 minutes. He was a plus 7. Maxi was a plus 5. Reggie was a plus 11. Christian Wood was a plus 5. Jaden Hardy plus 23 in this game. So he was fun to watch, man. I mean, they were giving him the ball to create at times. He just couldn't get that mid-range shot, couldn't get some shots around the basket to fall. He's 5-17 from the field. I'm trying to keep track of the quotes. I'm recording this during post-game availability. And as we know, got to see what Jason Kidd says after a basketball game. It's a lot of fun. But anyway, yeah, that backcourt, I mean, who would have ever thought that with 13 games left in the season that we're sitting there getting hyped about a Josh Green, Jaden Hardy backcourt? If you would have told me that, 3 months ago, I would have said, all right, so are we in the draft profiles? We're looking at like 5th, 6th pick in the draft. Where are we at? But here we are. A win is a win, or is it? I mean, I think this is the definition of, hey, you just gotta take the dub in the win column and just move on at this point, because you need all the wins you can get right now, and you got the win. But all right, let's talk about this fourth quarter thing. So I thought we've thought of all the different ways the Mavericks could lose a basketball game. And at some point, I feel like there's stages of watching your favorite team play their sport. And at some point, I don't even know what the phase would be called. And tell me, leave a comment, if you're watching, you're listening, tweet at me, tell me if you've reached this point as you were watching, that it was so miserable, you couldn't believe it so much that you just started laughing. Because I think I weirdly, my wife probably thought I was the Joker or something. I just weirdly just start cackling, laughing when I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Not only when Maxi threw the ball out of bounds, but then, the play of, the Keldon Johnson, oop dunk to tie it up to go in OT. And I'm just over just laughing. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Are we being for real? I don't know. I mean, I get what Maxi was trying to do. Christian Wood had the smaller guy on him. There's only a minute and, there's only a second and a half, left in the game. All you got to do is just keep it in bounds, right? Just throw it down there and have Christian Wood. I mean, he doesn't even have to catch it. Just try to contest, get it, tip it up in the air, something. And Maxi just throws it too hard. And, Christian Wood had position. And, I've seen some people hey, Christian Wood could have tried harder. He could have, try to, go after the ball a little bit more. But, I mean, Maxi should have just made a better pass. I mean, there was just you just can't make that pass in that moment. Spurs get the ball where Maxi threw the ball out of bounds, from where inbounded the ball, and they throw the oop to Keldon Johnson. Incredible play by Pop. Like, just what a play. He was wide open for the oop. So, yeah. And then it went in overtime. Christian Wood had 5 points in overtime. All right, let's talk about Reggie. If you saw a little glitch there in the YouTube stream, I already did the whole rest of the podcast one time. Then I was about to hit upload. Actually, it was uploaded and everything. And you know what? This is why you check everything before you hit upload. Checked it, and all the audio was jacked from my file. So, yep, had to go back. We're pushing 1 o'clock in the morning right now to do the second half of this pot. So, it's a great game to come back and talk about it at 1 o'clock. So, let's talk about it again. I feel like this is deja vu. Let's talk about Reggie, though. One of the weirder stat lines of this entire game was Reggie Bullock. All right. Reggie finishes with 13 rebounds in the game. I don't know what it says about your big man rotation whenever Reggie Bullock ties for the most rebounds in a game. I think it does say something about your big rotation. But Reggie finished 13. Christian Wood had 13 boards in this game also. Christian Wood, 3 offensive boards. Dwight Powell, 4 offensive boards. Although I think Dwight Powell's 4 offensive boards were off his own misses. But there you go. But no, Reggie hit 6 threes in this game. He's 6 of 11 from the field. I thought he played well. We talk about one of those or some of these guys that really thrive playing off of Luka and Kyrie. Reggie's one of those guys. Tim obviously didn't play in this game. Reggie played a little bit better in this game than what he has previously without those two, but Maxi is the prime example of it. Not that Maxi is, supposed to be, one of your main offensive engines, but it's tough for Maxi to really do anything offensively out there without Luka or Kyrie. And you saw it tonight. I mean, he only had 3 points. He was 1 of 4 from the field. Only hit 1 shot in 27 minutes. Even defensively, I thought he struggled a little bit defensively too at the same time. I mean, everybody did. The Spurs put up 128. But so anyway, you saw that kind of with the bigger spotlight on Maxi with that without Luka and Kyrie. I mean, the Hardy Green backcourt. I mean, if you told me this, sorry if I said this earlier in the pod, as I said while ago, I'm re-recording this. If you told me 3 months ago that, hey, Jaden Hardy, Josh Green are going to be your starting backcourt with 13 games left in the season, I would have told you, all right, so how many times have I talked about the Thompson brothers? Have we looked at Brandon Miller tape? Have we started our draft profiles and all of that? But no, I mean, here we are. And I think they're a lot of fun, at least, if all else in the worst case scenario happens with this team, they miss the play-in, they don't get their pick and all of that. I know you can make fun of me, but I think the the only positive thing I think you could try to pull from it if you're like really trying hard is that Hardy and Green got a lot of minutes towards the end of the season that they should build upon going to the off season and for next year and all that because I thought they played well. 22 points, 21 points. Jaden Hardy's a plus 23 in this game. For reference, Christian Wood is a plus 5. Maxi's a plus 5. Dwight plus 7. Reggie plus 11. Plus 23 is pretty dang good. Josh was a plus 17. Josh had 7 assists. That's kind of like the de facto point guard in this. But yeah, I mean, they're a lot of fun. Obviously, they barely squeaked out a win over the Spurs. So, you might be saying, I don't know how much fun that is. I also want to give a shout out to McKinley Wright, too. I've liked some of his minutes. I don't know what he is long term, but I just love his energy. He had 11 points tonight off the bench, handful of boards, hit the only 3 he took. I just like some of his minutes. The guys seem to really like him. And yeah, I don't know. I just don't know what his future is. I'm kind of really curious of if he's going to stick. Can he be a legit backup point guard? Is he like a Javon Carter? Could it be a campaign type of, player that is a decent backup point guard in the league one day? I don't know. Yeah, let's talk about where they look like in the standings right now heading into this Lakers game. But first, our friends, our best friends from Built Bar. Guys, it's a Built Bar March Madness bracket. It's here. We know you have a favorite bar or puff, and now it's your time to make it count. Go to builtmarchmadness.com to vote for your favorites. Guys, I'm going to be voting for the coconut brownie chunk, the bar. I'm all about the bars compared to the puffs. Nick obviously likes the puffs, and I'm a bar guy. He's a puff guy. Take that for however you want it. And that's how we're going to be voting, fighting against each other. Support your team, support your bar or puff. And when you vote your favorite bar or puff, you will be entered into a drawing where 50 lucky Locked On listeners will get a free box of Built. You know, if you don't want that box, just send it to me. I'll take it. Not only that, but one Locked On fan will win a 12-month subscription. Maybe I can get my wife to sign up for this. To Built, to have Built's best bars or puffs delivered monthly straight to your door. You got to try Built. Built is the best protein bar ever. Seriously, they're so amazing you won't think they're good for you. Run to builtmarchmadness.com right now to vote for your favorite bar or puff and pick up your box while you're there. You can vote every day in March, so hop in and support your pick. This pod's also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. There you go. It's the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sports app. It's safe, secure, super easy to use. Guys, Friday's games coming up, Lakers, Mavs. Even though there's no LeBron, I mean, we have AD. We'll probably play in that game. I don't know, unless he stubs his toe. There's going to be so many different player props in this game. You can go to money line routes. I mean, you can go to point scores. You can do the threes drained. Look these things up for Friday. I'm sure there's so many different combinations you can use on Friday. But FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with same-game parlays. Don't miss the chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/locked-on. That's FanDuel.com/locked-on to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official betting partner of the NBA. All right, let's take a glance at the standings here. Now that I'm re-recording this, some more games are over, so it actually worked out for the better. Let's do this. Let's look at the Western Conference. Where are the Grizzlies? No, I'm just kidding. Now, let's look where Dallas is at. Dallas at 35-35. With this win, they climbed back to being 500. And they are tied with the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are in 7th. They're now a game back from the Warriors. So the Clippers moved ahead of the Warriors. The Warriors are 36-34, the 6th spot. So they're just a game back from 6, but they're also a game and a half back from 12th. So the Wild West. So weird. Big game coming up on Friday. You have the Lakers in LA. I think the Lakers Rockets should have looked that one up. But, you know, the Lakers, man, I mean, they're right there with Dallas. They're a game back from Dallas. They're 10th. Dallas is 8th. They're right there in the play-in together. You don't want the Lakers to pass you in the standings. So, I mean, what better of a way than to beat the Lakers on Friday, move another game ahead of them? That would just be, you know, a great move for Dallas. So, it's a big game. It's always a big game going against Lakers. You know, obviously no LeBron, that can be no Luka. It'd be really nice if we get Kyrie back for that game to try to beat the Lakers there. I do know this. If they play the same way that they play against the Spurs, not very confident that they're going to come away with a win there against the Lakers. But then you got some Hornets games coming up after that. You got that Memphis game again next week. That's the game in which Ja is eligible to come back, but it doesn't look like he's going to play in that game because, you know, he's got to ramp back up into games and all of that. So it would be so nice just to get one win out of those, you know, this 3-game stretch of the Grizzlies. Would love to, you know, give a looks, which that was hilarious. If you've seen the clip that came the other day of Dylan Brooks at Oregon back in his college days, saying he wanted to be the Draymond Green for the Oregon team. So incredible. It's falling in his role models' footsteps there. But that's that big game on Friday. A win's a win, guys. as much as this win wasn't that fun, it was still a dub. They still get a win in the win column. And yeah, we'll see where they go from there. I'm going to Disney on Ice tomorrow night. I'll be in the AAC. But for Disney on Ice, taking our toddlers, I'll say toddlers. I guess they're toddlers. I don't know what the cutoff is for toddlers, but 4, 3, that's their ages. Taking them to see this Disney on Ice thing. I might report on tomorrow night's pod, and maybe the last few minutes give you some pros and cons, some big takeaways from Disney on Ice. If it's worth it, if you want to take kids, if it was great, if it was miserable. So yeah, we'll see how it goes, guys. It's been good. Probably better hanging out with you guys than watching that weird game tonight. But they'll be back. I'll be back tomorrow. Mavs will be back in action on Friday night. Guys, have a good night. Day. Peace out. Boom. Cool. I don't even have the video back up. Here you go. Let's try this again, baby. Peace out. Boom.